Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Cooking with Colbath. My name is Julie Colbath and I am the coordinator of Civic Engagement here at the Office of Student Life at UM-Dearborn. I'm so happy that you're joining us today. Today we're going to be making one of my favorite things. Sorry, I was preheating my oven, so now it is ready. You might have noticed that I use a lot of recipes from the site Budget Bites. I really enjoy them. It's sort of nice too if you wanted. They have write a breakdown of how much everything costs by ingredient and by serving. Obviously that's variable based on where you are. But I think it's sort of nice, and it's kind of, the website is sort of based around eating healthier on a budget. So we're going to be making a vegetable pot pie skillet with a cheddar biscuit topping. I love it because it's warm and comforting. It's also one pot, which makes me very happy. And it's pretty easy, and we have quite a few of the ingredients in the pantry, but then also it's some staple items that you likely have at home. So let me scroll up. So we're going to be using some butter. Unsalted or salted is fine. If you use salted, I would just cut down on the salt that it's called for in the recipe. We'll use an onion, which we'll dice. We're going to use some all-purpose flour. We're going to use a cup of milk. It is 1 cup. I just poured it into a glass. We're going to use some salt, some pepper, and then it calls for thyme and sage. Those are things I don't normally have, so I just normally combine those together and add a half a teaspoon of Italian seasoning, and that's been working well for me for years now. And then we're going to have some chicken or vegetable broth, and a pound of frozen mixed vegetables. Right, so you probably have seen these in the grocery store. It's normally $1 for the bag. I've also tried it, right, because we have plenty of canned vegetables in the pantry. I've also tried it with cans of vegetables, and it works basically the same. The biscuit topping it has ingredients, so if you wanted to make it from scratch, I don't have the box that we normally have in the pantry, right? But it's kind of like an all-purpose baking mix that you can turn into biscuits or pancakes or waffles. But I'm just going to use, and again, you can use the recipe that's listed, but I'm just going to use a packet. It's a lot easier for me. And then I am just going to follow the instructions on the packet to prepare the biscuits. And then I'm just going to add cheese to it. You can add chives if you want, also not something I normally have on hand. Excuse me, I think I do have some dried chives, but I don't use them very often. So we'll go ahead and get started. This will be, again, one of those episodes like we had a couple weeks ago where I have to bake things in the oven, and y'all probably don't want to hear me ramble for 20 minutes while it bakes. So I'll pause the video and then play a little clip, and then I'll show you what it looks like in the end. Cool, so we are going to start by chopping our onion. Let me get you positioned. Alright, cool, this will be the same as it normally is, right? I've already peeled and rinsed this onion. So I'm going to chop off the ends. I'll set them aside to compost, or you can, like we've probably talked about before, you can put all of your vegetable scraps in a Ziploc bag, throw it in the freezer, and then you can make your own stock. So we've created a flat surface right on both sides. We'll cut it in half, and then we'll cut it into strips. Ooh, I keep doing that. Then we'll rotate it 90 degrees. I like that light's not positioned well. I don't know if y'all can actually see this, but we've we've diced onions plenty of times. So then I just cut it 90 degrees the other way. So we'll do the same thing, right? Cuts. Oops. One way. It's starting to get to me, y'all. And then turn it 90 degrees. And then do cuts the other way. Creates a nice dice. That's literally like most work that you have to put into this. So we will. Right, there's not much prep, which is nice too. We diced the onion, and we're gonna add it. I'm gonna turn the pan on. So hopefully, it's a cloudier day today. So hopefully the door doesn't serve to be as much of an issue. Ooh, hot. I really need to reposition this light. I'm sorry, I say that every time. We're gonna add 3 tablespoons of butter. I'm just gonna let that melt before I add in the onion. Let me find a spoon to mix. All right. Once we do that, we're gonna saute the onions until they're soft and transparent, right? So you can sort of see through them. And then we'll add the flour, and we'll saute it for a couple minutes. And then we'll whisk in the milk and the spices. So hopefully, I think, right, like total time for this said about 35 minutes, but it's supposed to cook for 18 to 20, so not a lot of active time. But just a reminder, it's 2 weeks to the election, so make sure you vote. The online registration deadline is passed, so now you have to go in person to register to vote. You can still request your absentee ballot online, so you can visit either UM-Dearborn.turbo.org to get your absentee ballot, or you can go to michigan.gov/vote. And the nice thing about voting early, right, is that, or voting absentee, is, you know, you can have more time to research your ballot, understand what's on there. You don't have to wait in long lines at the polls or worry about, you know, if you get sick and can't show up on election day. So that's melted. So we're just going to add our onions. The nice thing too, right, I know there's a lot of talk about absentee ballots at the moment, but you can always request one, and if you decide to not fill it out, you can still vote in person if you bring in your blank ballot and you surrender it to the people who are working at your polling location, then you can vote. So we are just going to stir this around again until, woo, splattered at me. Until the onions are soft and transparent. You can also vote early. Sorry, keep getting distracted. You can vote early, so you can go into your local clerk and they can give you your absentee ballot, and you can fill it out there and hand it back to them. At this time, if you're going to vote absentee, I would recommend that you drop it off at your clerk once you finish filling it out. The mail, as you might know, is a little bit slow, so just to guarantee that it's able to make it and be counted, I would drop it off at your local clerk. And you can track your absentee ballot again on michigan.gov/vote. That site has a lot of really cool stuff on it. So be sure to check that out. And right, polls will be open on Tuesday, November 3rd from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So if you do want to vote in person, find your polling location at michigan.gov/vote. And make sure you know how to get there. You make a plan to vote, right? Like, figure out what time you're going to go, see if you can bring any of your family or friends. Be prepared to stand in a little bit of a line. I don't know what it'll look like, but it's better to be safe than sorry. And you can also, especially in Dearborn, and if you know Arabic, poll workers are a very important part of the process. And especially in Dearborn, they need, you know, people who are able to speak Arabic as well to help at the polls. So if you are interested in that, you do get paid. Like I've talked about before, it's super cool. You can go to Power the Polls website. You can also probably find it on the Michigan.gov/vote website. All right, so these are starting to get a little bit translucent. So we will add our flour and continue to saute for about 2 minutes. So this is just all-purpose normal flour. I'm going to set a timer for 2 minutes or else I will forget. So I feel like this step is more or less like kind of creating a roux like we talked about before, I think when we made mac and cheese. Of sort of having that like flour and butter element so the flour will thicken. Again, I don't know, I've never tried this with like a gluten-free flour or cornstarch, but you could try and see if that will help thicken it. A lot of the times with this, I will double the filling just because I feel like there's never enough. This is just a single batch, but you can always double it. So you'll want to make sure if you have one, you can use an oven-safe skillet. So a cast iron skillet is oven-safe. I thought about using it, but I really like these stainless steel pans that I can throw in the dishwasher. If you don't have an oven-safe pan, you can always, you know, make the dish and then put it in like an 8x8 or 9x13 or 11x7 like glass pan or like a casserole dish. I've done that before too. So it's almost time to add the milk. So we're gonna whisk in the milk until no clumps remain. I'm gonna grab my whisk. If you don't have a whisk, you can use a fork or you can just use a spoon. It's no big deal. The whisk just helps you like break down all of those little lumps. All right, so we're gonna add our cup of milk. I'm just gonna add it a little, like in a couple phases so that I can whisk in between to maybe create less lumps. And again, I've never tried this with non-dairy milk, but you could try. But you could also use the like shelf-stable milk that we have in the pantry. All right, so whisk in until no lumps remain. Add the spices. I'm trying to make sure I get it off of the sides too, because it's hiding there, but you can, it's hard to tell, right, because this looks crazy reflection. But there aren't really many lumps and it's thickened, so I'm gonna add my spices. So it says allow the milk to come up to a simmer, whisking often until it thickens. So it's getting thick, which is great, right? Like we talked about with the roux, the flour helps thicken. I feel like this could also sometimes, okay. So what you do is you make this and then you prepare the biscuits and you put the biscuits on top. Sometimes I just like to put the biscuits on the side because then it's easier to just, you know, bake them separately, but you can do whatever you want. So this is simmering. So we're going to whisk in the vegetable broth and allow it to come up to a simmer again. It's easier to add when you use a liquid measuring cup. But I only had one to use at the moment. So right, it got thinner again because we just added a cup of liquid. You could use, that's my like chicken stock stuff that I normally use. You could use vegetable broth, beef broth, any sort of broth. So I can try to show you and see if you can see. Right, it kind of just looks like a creamy soup. So you could easily like make a large quantity of this and then freeze it and, you know, bake off biscuits to eat with it, or you could eat it like a soup. I definitely have done that before as well. Sorry, camera angle plus the lighting, not ideal. So again, we're gonna let it get back up to a simmer, and then we'll just add our frozen vegetables. We did not need to thaw them, which is nice. There are just a couple onions hanging out in my bowl. I also like to add, right, there's cheese in the biscuit topping, but I like to add cheese in to the filling. If you want to do that, cool. If not, not how it was originally intended. So choose your own adventure, as per usual, on Cooking with Colbath. If you are planning to go to the polls and you don't have a ride, I would definitely check out like Lyft and Uber. They normally have free or discounted rides to the polls. If you need help with any of that, please feel free to email us at victorsvote@umich.edu. Even if you're like, where do I go to register, or how do I request my absentee ballot, we can definitely answer those questions for you. Voting is confusing, but you should not let that stop you, right? Like, I think you have to do it like a couple times to understand. But it's a super important thing to do, especially this year with the presidential election. Cool. It's also homecoming, so happy homecoming, right? The first football game that comes back is on Saturday. Go Blue. It'll be sad to, you know, not be able to attend the games, but we have some football, so that's exciting. But there's lots of other cool things going on. OSL is doing a photo competition, so check out our Facebook page to learn how to enter into that. Lots of cool prizes. So this is simmering. So we're going to add in our vegetables. And you can use any mix of vegetables. So this was just like a general mix that has green beans and corn and carrots and peas. And even as somebody who does not like green beans, I really enjoy this dish. We're just going to mix it until it's combined. So it's basically like chicken pot pie without the chicken. If you wanted to, you could add it in. You could easily write the like canned chicken that we have in the pantry. You could throw that in there. And I'm going to add some cheese. As we've established, enjoy the cheese very much. Just so it gives it a chance to melt. So then we'll turn the heat down to low and we'll allow the mixture to heat through while we prepare the biscuits. I don't measure, I just throw it in. Because it doesn't give me any recommendation for it. So I'm just going to mix it so that it's able to melt more evenly. Alright. Then I'm going to turn it down to low and we'll make our biscuits. So we'll just need some sort of biscuit mix, or you can follow the directions, and this is a cup of cheese. So just use whatever directions are on the biscuit mix to make the biscuits. So this just calls for a half a cup of water to add to this mix. There's a half a cup of water in my bowl. I already measured it out. So we're just gonna throw this in here. So you want like 6 biscuits to top it, I think. This makes 6 exactly. So I'm excited. You could obviously make a bigger batch if you had, and then just have extra. So I'm just gonna mix this until it's combined and like a soft dough forms. Whoop. Alright, and then I'm just gonna throw the cheese in there. And then we'll mix it again. I feel like you would also, right, they sell those like, to be honest, I've never been to Red Lobster because I don't like seafood, but those like cheddar biscuits are really good. So you could get some of those instead. I'm sure it would be good without topping. And if you don't like cheese, you could just put normal biscuits. It'd still be good. Alright. I'm going to use my hands just to really get the cheese integrated. It does not want to fully go. And then you could easily, I think it tells you to roll it out. I don't really like having to roll out my biscuits and cut them, so because I know I need 6, I'm just going to eyeball it, right? So I'm going to break the dough in half, right? So now I need to make 3 out of this one, so I'll just break it into thirds. And then you just want to make sure that they're like relatively even. And then what we're going to do, ooh, that is a bright light. Let me scoot you this way. That's right, we have our biscuits. Ooh. And we're just going to throw them right on top of this mixture. So we'll just flatten out. All of these. And you'll want to you have to fit 6 of them. So you just want to make sure that you make sure they're close enough. So something I was going to say and I don't remember. It's fine. Sure, it'll come to me. So you'll have probably like 5 around the edge and then 1 in the middle. Sometimes I like making the biscuits on the side so that, I don't know, like cook more evenly. Then you don't have to worry about them being underdone. So up to you how you want to do it, but this way is at least nice because it is all one skillet. Just had to double check my math there for a second. Let me rinse my hands quick and then I'll show you what it looks like before we put it in the oven. Alright, so like I said, I'm going to put this, turn it off. Let's see, let's make sure I didn't miss any steps before I put it in there. So I'm going to show you what it looks like. I'm going to pop it in the oven. You'll just see a little interlude screen for a couple of seconds, and then I'll show you what it's like. So again, you don't have to listen to me babble for lots of minutes. So essentially, right, pot pie without like the layer of pie dough, but biscuits instead. So I'm just going to throw it in the oven, and in just a few seconds you'll see what it looks like when it comes out. Alright friends, we're back. I put it in for about 20 minutes, and now it's time to take it out. Make sure you are careful. Not that I've done it taking it out of the oven before, but I've touched it afterwards. Taken my hot pan out of the oven using an oven mitt, and then forget that it was just in the oven, and so try to grab the handle. Not a good idea. Heavy. Probably best with 2 hot pans. So, I'm gonna have to take it a different way. This new lighting is really out of control. So I'm gonna tilt you so that you can see that the biscuit's baked and the filling is bubbling underneath, which is exactly what we wanted. Beautiful. I'm very excited to eat it. So I hope that you try it. If you do, let me know. Again, you can get a lot of a good portion of the ingredients from the pantry, right? Some vegetables, shelf-stable milk, broth. We don't have cheese, but hopefully you have like cheese and butter at your house. You can get biscuit mix. And so if you try it, let me know. If there's anything that you would like me to make, please let me know. Feel free to drop it in the comments or in the chat as this is live streaming. Again, don't forget to vote. And a good idea is to sign up for election reminders through TurboVote. So like I said, UM-Dearborn.turbovote.org. In the time that this was baking, got a text message that a few weeks ago they had said that you could, any absentee ballot that was postmarked by November 2nd would be counted. Now they're saying that that's not happening, which traditionally it's your clerk has to receive your absentee ballot by 8 p.m. on election day, and so right with everything going on with the pandemic and the mail being a little bit slower, they had ruled that you could do, as long as it was postmarked by the 2nd, which is the day before the election, it would be counted, but that is not the case anymore. So everything is changing very quickly, so I would definitely recommend that you sign up for election reminders just to make sure you're up to date on what's going on, right? So you just delete them if you don't want them, but it's good to be in the know. So again, if you have any election-related questions, please email us at victorsvote@umich.edu, and we will do our best to help you get the answers. Thanks again for tuning in, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Bye, y'all.